The first question would come, why being a doctor? Why medicine?
So I think your life experiences shape you. You would go out to the Kachiyabadis and you would see patients there.
Yes.
You know, in one of the World Polio Days, polio programs, because Pakistan has very high rates of childhood polio and low immunization rates. I remember being dropped off in a fishing village, maybe 2 hours away from Karachi, with this little cooler jug, which was full of polio drops.
That it's actually not just about fashion, it's actually about women.
That unfortunately we're living in a pandemic of misinformation.
Yes.
And that's what I was talking about. If you have a vaccine that protects you against cancer, it's a no-brainer. It has over 20 years of real-world data with millions of doses.
So a movie or a book?
Always.
Yeah.
And if there's a book where there's a movie made on it, I never watch the movie.
Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today. It's my pleasure and utmost delight to welcome a very dear friend of mine who is a rising star. But actually, I shouldn't even say rising star. She's already a star, very well-known and very accomplished pediatrician, Dr. Zainab Malik. Welcome, Zainab.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here, Shabeeha.
My
Really
pleasure,
excited.
my pleasure. You know how delighted I am every time I see you. And I'm just so inspired with all your accomplishments and where you are right now. Just pure love, literally pure love for you.
I mean, look who's talking, right? I mean, you're phenomenal. And I think that it's really lovely to see a close friend and a fellow woman rise to new heights. And I'm, I think with your recent accomplishments and appointments, incredible.
Right back at you.
You do us all proud.
Oh, likewise, same here. But no, thank you so much for taking the time out, and I know how busy you are.
Thank you.
With work and moving house and with kids, life happens.
And Daisy.
And Daisy, of course. So yes, I mean, despite everything, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Good. So a little touch on history. So Zainab and I connected when we were in the university together.
Yes.
So AKU connected us, and the journey from there, it just rolled on.
I know. Can't believe it's been, what, 23 years?
23 years.
23 years, yeah. Phenomenal.
So you had your 25th anniversary at AKU recently.
Yes, just last month.
Excellent.
Yes,
that must be quite an experience, a nostalgia.
Very nostalgic. And, and you were there recently as well.
Yes.
I think it's so beautiful to be a part of an institution like the Aga Khan University. And to see it expand in the last 25 years, it's grown from just a nursing school and a medical school to PhD programs and fellowships and accredited research and training program. And it just makes you feel really proud that something phenomenal like this is happening in Pakistan.
Absolutely.
And it's serving the entire Asian continent, students and researchers and learners. And I hope that, we can continue to move forward in research, and we can all try and do our part.
Absolutely. So, Aga Khan, I mean, when we were in school, it obviously is as esteemed as it is, has been the place to go to, and I completely echo and understand that where it is right now, not just within the subcontinent making its name, but people in Africa with the Kenya campus, and people know about this. Of course, His Highness late Prince Karim Aga Khan from Paris. If you actually go abroad in Europe, people know that.
Yeah,
and of course, the AQ fraternity has made its name globally.
Right.
Majority of them being in the States.
Right.
Which is where you went.
That's right.
So tell us about your journey.
So I graduated. I was born in Islamabad, and then when I was 3, we moved to Karachi. So I have my fondest memories as a child growing up in Karachi.
Oh, wow.
And then we moved back to Islamabad when I was 10. And then obviously moved to Karachi again for medical school at Aga Khan.
Yeah.
So I was there from 1995, and I graduated in 2000. And we were very lucky I was very honored to have met His Highness Prince Karim Aga Khan, who gave me
for a convocation.
I have a photo of shaking hands with him and getting my degree, and it was just, I think it was the most surreal moment of my life.
Excellent.
So after I graduated from medical school, I went on to do a residency in pediatrics at Duke, Duke University Medical Center, and it was phenomenal because at Duke, at that time, there were 5 of us women from my graduating class.
Oh, wow.
So I was the only one in pediatrics, but there were There was Zainab Samad, who is now the chair of medicine at Aga Khan.
Yes.
There is
She's a cardiologist.
She's a cardiologist,
Correct.
highly respected,
Yes.
phenomenal woman.
Yes.
Nasha Talati, who's a pediatric, who's an adult ID, infectious disease. Salima Shafi.
Oh, yeah.
And Tahniyat Lalani.
Oh, wow.
She's adult ID as well. So it was really great to have this sisterhood of 5 women fresh off the boat, and we were huge support system that you had, being away from home in a foreign country. But,
absolutely.
And also we had, all along the way, as you know, when you travel for your residency interviews, you're strapped of cash and you don't know people. And Aga Khan, I think, provided this family.
Yes.
You could reach out, and if you had an alumnus anywhere,
correct,
they would pick you up from the Greyhound station.
Isn't
and they
that
would
amazing?
Take care of you. You could crash in their couch, and you just keep paying it forward. And I think it's just beautiful that we have that with our alumni.
Absolutely. And I think that gives you that sense of, we always, all of us, I can probably say on everyone's behalf, probably, that we all share that sense of responsibility.
Absolutely.
And belonging.
Yes.
That, we come from the same institute, and at the core of it, just with the time that we've spent being the first years and the 5 senior years there, so on, and then you become the 5th year, and then you have 5 younger years, kind of like looking at you and following you.
Yeah.
And the network becomes very strong.
Absolutely.
And we still keep in touch, and it's amazing to see how people have done so far, how well accomplished, and really they've really gone over and beyond.
Absolutely.
Which truly, and I think a lot of it is with the university, the way you are taught and trained to become not just a medical professional, but as an individual as well.
Absolutely. And there's a huge humanitarian aspect, right?
Absolutely,
If you remember, during our years in CHS, Community Health Sciences, we would go out to the fishing villages.
Yes,
we would go out to the Kachiabadis, and we would see patients there.
Yes.
And I still remember that, in one of the World Polio Days, polio programs, because Pakistan has very high rates of childhood polio and low immunization rates. I remember being dropped off in a fishing village, maybe 2 hours away from Karachi, with this little cooler jug, which was full of polio drops. And I didn't speak the language, they didn't speak Urdu, so we just communicated. And I went into all these little schools and gave polio drops to kids. And it was a phenomenal experience. And, when I wrote my personal statement for my pediatric residency, that was one of my experiences that I wrote about. And it was so different that I got asked a lot about that during my residency interviews, when I was interviewing at Mass General at Harvard or at Duke or at other places. So it's given us a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that kind of takes me into this. We all have like our paths created and carved. So I think the first question would come, why being a doctor? Why medicine?
So I think your life experiences shape you. So I come from a family where I have one uncle who's a doctor. My younger brother has lots of medical problems. So I remember being a 3-year-old sitting in the hospital with him, going to doctor's appointments, and he was very sick and he's still very unwell and medically. So, and I used to see the difference it made, to have a compassionate doctor, and how a good doctor could actually doesn't just treat the child or the patient, but the whole family.
Absolutely.
And so I think that, when my mother tells me that even when I was 3, I would say I wanted to be a lady doctor. Until somebody said, you're a lady, you'll always be a lady. So you just need to say that you're going to be a doctor. So I think I was one of those very focused people, and I always knew I wanted to do medicine. I love kids, and I think I always gravitated towards children. So pediatrics was very easy, but what was harder was what subspecialty in pediatrics. So, coming from Pakistan, which has a huge amount of vaccine preventable diseases, and, on my pediatric rotation, seeing children die of diseases that are entirely preventable, right?
Yeah.
You see kids, they're dying of diphtheria, they're dying of tetanus because they haven't been vaccinated. So I felt like as a pediatric infectious disease doctor, I'd be able to have a far more far-reaching impact, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that's what kind of shaped my journey from going from pediatric residency to a pediatric infectious disease fellowship.
Yeah, I think it's a very thoughtful field doing peds, and I think it's like many other things that it's not everyone's cup of tea, and you kind of like are born and you envisage yourself doing what you do, and you become, either you're best at it, and then you just unravel yourself and say that this is what I was carved and made to do. But yeah, I think you've touched upon this very important topic these days, isn't it? Vaccinations. And for the last, I think, 5-6 years since COVID and a lot of vaccine versus no vaccines debate. I think it would be nice to kind of touch upon that. What's your take as a pediatrician? Because I'm sure you see both sides. People who are totally cool with it, and yes, vaccines prevent, and happy to put their children through it, of course. But some are completely on the opposite side. I know I see that. So, for kids, of course, you probably see the heart of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, we live in a very difficult world because there's just too much information. Anybody can just get up and say anything. And so we're living, and I said this in another podcast that I was interviewed in, that unfortunately we're living in a pandemic of misinformation.
Yes.
And how people get their news. Influencers on Instagram are jazzy and they're fashionable and they make all this cool content. And unfortunately, doctors are very boring people, right? We don't make makeup.
Tell me about it, honestly.
So unfortunately, a lot of these young parents are getting their information from non-scientific sources. And I think that very recently with the state of affairs in the United States, unfortunately, where medicine and vaccines have become a political weapon, that's just wrong. And that's just doing a huge disservice to a lot of children, not just in the United States, but unfortunately, the US has always been looked at as the leader, the gold standard. So when they're slipping, you're kind of, you don't know what to believe. So I think that parents are well within their right to start questioning things, but I think that we always need to leave that door open for discussion.
Yes.
And what I find is that, that most of the parents are open to discussion. Yes, there are some parents who will say no to vaccines. You can't change their mind. Everybody is welcome to their views. But what I like to do is have a dialogue. Think about it. Let's try. I'm flexible about doing vaccines because I feel that if there's a family who comes in and they don't want vaccines and they go back and think about it and even come back for one that protects their kid from a serious disease like meningitis, at least I've made a difference in some way. As a mother and as a pediatric infectious disease specialist, I've read all the evidence, not just the guidelines. I've looked at the papers, I've looked at the safety data. I have given my kids all the vaccines. In fact, my kids joke that my mom's always giving me vaccines.
But at least that mom is in the right field. So, absolutely.
So that's another thing I say to my patients. Yes, I've given my kids this vaccine. Many of the kids, the vaccines I've taken myself and given to my husband because if you have a vaccine that protects you from cancer, why would you say no to it, even as an adult? If it protects you from meningitis that you can get living in this geographical space, why would you not get it? So I think that also having seen the flip side of children dying of these diseases, it's very different when you live in a bubble where everyone's healthy, everyone's vaccinated, you don't see children dying of these diseases, your perspectives shift. And every day in the US, in Europe, children are dying from measles. These are healthy children, they just didn't get vaccinated. So I truly, truly believe that vaccines save lives, and I'm happy to have this conversation with parents.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there is obviously a lot more awareness recently, especially in Pakistan, that I've seen some videos and some clips come along, and you see the the noise is I think is for the right reason being made about HPV.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I think, that's something that, as a child or even as a teenager, I don't think I'd heard of
Right.
being in Pakistan or
Yeah.
even at that time as a medical student. But
Yeah.
obviously since then science has evolved. We've got more
Absolutely.
data. And I think that's something which clearly I see a difference in Pakistan especially, that, people are being made more aware.
Yeah.
And there's talk going on. And I think that just explain that in few words, just from a layman perspective, what does it do and how can it offend? And is it necessary for both boys and girls or just girls or women? Yeah.
So it's interesting. So my introduction to HPV, HPV is short for human papillomavirus. So my research mentor, when I was doing my pediatric infectious disease fellowship in New York, I was lucky enough to get accepted into a master's program for clinical research. So my research topic was immune responses to HPV natural infection in college women. And this was data taken from female students at Rutgers University in New Jersey. So that was my research thesis, and I've published extensively. So it was really gratifying, after all of that research to have this vaccine approved about 20 years ago. So human papillomavirus is a very common virus. There are about 100 different types of HPV. Some of them cause warts. People get viral warts on their feet or their hands. Those are kind of the benign types of HPV. And there are certain types of HPV that are called the high-risk types of HPV. And we are exposed, they're ubiquitous, they're everywhere. You can get exposed to them through sexual and non-sexual contact. And the problem with these oncogenic or the cancer-causing types of HPV are that they're very smart. Once you're infected, they don't trigger the immune response. So as you know, somebody gets infected with a virus, our immune system fights it, creates an inflammatory response, and clears that infection. So HPV, especially the cancer-causing types, they kind of function at the sub-immunological level and start to create a cancerous process in the cells. So after infection, it takes about 5 to 6 years to develop precancerous changes and decades to develop cancer. And initially, HPV types are recognized as the cause of cervical cancer, which is cancer of the opening of the uterus in women. And increasingly, it has been recognized as a very important cause of head and neck cancer in both men and women. So when we're talking about HPV vaccination, you'd wonder, why should I protect my daughter and not my son against cancers that they might get when they're in their 30s or 40s or 50s? So what it is it's a vaccine. The most recent component has protection against 9 types of HPV.
I see. Okay,
2 cause viral warts, and the other 7 are the most important causes of head and neck cancer, vaginal cancer, cervical, anal, penile cancer in men. And in countries that have introduced HPV vaccine, for example, in the United States, for the longest time it was only a vaccine for women. So the rates of cervical cancer in women were going down, but the rates of head and neck cancer in men were going up.
I see.
And in countries like Australia, where they introduced it initially for girls and then they included men, they saw rates of both going down. And in fact, Australia is going to become the first country in the world by 2030 to eliminate cervical cancer.
Wow.
And imagine a vaccine doing that, right?
Imagine.
And so HPV is an important vaccine. I've given it to both my children. I've taken it myself. I've given it to my husband. And that's what I was talking about. If you have a vaccine that protects you against cancer, it's a no-brainer.
Absolutely.
And it has over 20 years of real-world data with millions of doses. So you don't get issues. You don't get fertility problems. You don't get problems with other collateral damage. All you get is a sore arm that gets better in a couple of days.
Excellent, yeah.
And I think in Pakistan, they have a very good strategy about with the political figures, right? There was the mayor of a really big city vaccinating his daughter and saying that, let's go ahead and vaccinate. So for everybody listening, I think it's an important vaccine that at least talk to your pediatrician or your adult doctor about it.
Absolutely. So just on that note, just for people like myself to understand this better, what's the right age for this vaccine to be given to children? And how does the course work? Because I think it's 2 injections below a certain age and 3 injections after a certain age. So if you just break that out for me, please.
Sure. So the HPV vaccine is licensed for boys and girls starting at age 9. And there is actually no upper limit. You can get it for as long as you want to. It just, the labeling of the package insert depends on the approval within that country. So for example, in certain states and provinces in Canada, it's given to everybody.
Right.
In the UAE, the licensing is different. The upper limit is said to be 45, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't work or it's not safe after that age. So certainly speak to your doctor and get that vaccine. In countries like Finland and Norway that introduced HPV vaccine a decade ago, what they found was that children or girls who were given the vaccine when they were younger, in younger teen years, less than, let's say, 13 or 14, they were protected in a much more robust way. And it's probably versus girls who were vaccinated at 17 or 18. And that has to do with the immune system is immature, so you can train it and imagine that your body has the soldiers to fight the virus before it actually gets exposed to it. So the rationale is to vaccinate children young rather than when they're then 20 or 21. So anybody who's younger than 15 gets 2 doses, 6 months apart. Will it work if the vaccine doses are spaced by 8 months or 10 months? Yes, it'll work. With vaccines, 6 months is the shortest interval for HPV to be very effective, but longer intervals are perfectly fine. If there's somebody who got their first dose of HPV at 14 and a half or 14 years, 9 months, then they can still just get the 2-dose vaccine. So it depends on when you started it. For anybody who's 15 plus, they get 3 doses. So they get a dose, and 1 or 2 months later, they get their second dose, and 6 months after the first dose, they get their third. So it's a 0-1-6 schedule for 15 plus all the way till an older age group.
Excellent. Okay, great. So similar kind of question about other vaccines now. Let's say, the DPT, the basic vaccination program internationally follows more or less the same kind of vaccine, right? So then comes the question that there's a chickenpox vaccine, there is a hepatitis A vaccine. Should we be getting those as well, or should the national programs actually include those where we don't have, for example, in Pakistan?
Sure.
So how do we go about that? There's a standard program versus these additional vaccines.
So in most countries will look at their own epidemiology data. So they'll look at what are the diseases that are impacting, let's say, mortality. What are the diseases that children are dying from? Other countries might look at healthcare utilization data. So which are the diseases that are bringing more kids to the hospital, doctor's visits, medications, because all of this is a cost to the economy and to the system. And then a country has to decide for itself what is a priority, because obviously funds are finite, so you can't vaccinate against everything. So one country might decide, well, a lot of our children are dying of gastroenteritis caused by rotavirus. So we want to introduce the rotavirus drops in the infant immunization program. Versus another country might say, actually for us, typhoid. So for example, for India, they've introduced the typhoid vaccine in their national immunization program because of the concern about the multi-drug resistance typhoid. And there are certain countries, for example, that follow the expanded program of immunization as directed by the WHO. So the World Health Organization says that at the very least, countries should be vaccinating against these diseases. And that's where those countries can become eligible for funding through Gavi, which funds vaccines for countries to make sure that those kids are protected, and that's a completely different pathway. So So I would suggest that follow the immunization schedule of the country that you live in, because you're going to be exposed to those infections. Certainly, if you're traveling, like in the UAE, hepatitis A is not a part of the immunization program. Typhoid is not. But if you're going to be traveling to Thailand, it makes sense to get those vaccines if you can afford it, of course. In the UK, for example, chickenpox is not on the immunization schedule, not because it's not an important illness, but because they had a budget constraint, so they prioritized other things. I got chickenpox as a kid, and I still remember every harrowing day. It was an awful infection. As a pediatric resident, I've seen children come in with sepsis and multifocal osteomyelitis or bone infection from chickenpox, and a lot of kids die of it. And it doesn't, and then you end up having shingles when you're older. So chickenpox is not, again, it's not a just a fever and rash. Have a chickenpox party and get it over with. It can have huge implications.
Yes, absolutely.
But those are the questions to definitely chat with the pediatrician about and clarify what's important.
Good. That's really kind of eye-opening, obviously, just to have the perspective on this, because I think we kind of like do our own, on our own banter and kind of like, keep doing what. It's just more kind of holistic approach to all of this, which is great. Good. Yeah. So what is Dr. Zainab outside of being a doctor?
Ooh, what am I?
Yeah. Who is Dr. Zainab? Let's just put it this way. Who is Dr. Zainab?
It's funny, like when you do medicine, that's kind of your identity, isn't it? Like you started med school at 18, and you've spent your life chasing training, and so I'm certified by the American Board of Pediatrics, and I have to do what's called maintenance of certification. Every few months I have to submit questions, I have to keep my license active. So it's kind of an ongoing process.
It's never ending, isn't it?
It's never ending, but it's also great because you make sure that you're on top of things.
Yes, and you're up to date all the time.
You're providing your patients the most up-to-date information and knowledge, and it's exciting to see. So when I'm not doing my medicine in clinic, I work with a charity called Operation Smile, and this is it's a not-for-profit, and this provides cleft lip and palate surgeries for babies who are living in the UAE. It's an international organization which has chapters in around 80 countries. And so our local volunteer segment is made of pediatricians like me, anesthesiologists, pediatric intensive care unit specialists, pediatric plastic surgeons, maxillofacial surgeons, huge. And so those are the children, because unfortunately cleft lip and palate gets grouped as a congenital condition, which means by birth. So insurance companies don't cover these surgeries. And a lot of these are families where their earnings are limited or they don't have access to care, but they're living in the UAE. So we have surgical missions a few times a year. It's headed by this phenomenal dynamic woman called Morag, who has a background in education, and she founded this chapter. It's based out of Abu Dhabi under the patronage of one of the very influential sheikhas. And so every few months we have a surgical program and usually it's carried out at either Cleveland Clinic in Abu Dhabi or in Health Point in Abu Dhabi, where all the volunteers get together. We have a list of patients who are then scheduled to receive surgery. So I drive down to Abu Dhabi on a Friday night, spend the night in Abu Dhabi. Saturday early morning, our missions start. We're at the hospital at 5 a.m.
Wow, yes.
And spend the night, and then it's just an amazing way to give back. So I see a lot of those kids in my clinic to make sure that they're growing, they're not anemic, to make sure that they get on the surgical program. So that's my passion outside of work.
I've seen your obviously the posts and being so actively involved with this program, and it's of course it's so rewarding. I mean, in terms of you go home, you spend the night because you're there for the next day to provide service and care, but you sleep with a good, clean heart, and then you sleep the day after, probably, given so much care.
Absolutely. And it's just not, and it's so incredible. So I think you should come to one of these missions.
Absolutely.
That every volunteer is taking time out of their day, or they're taking, they've put their family to one side for this weekend, and they're dedicating their time. They're such phenomenal volunteers. The whole team is great. We get student volunteers, so a lot of the high school students who volunteer, and then they do a lot of patient education. They're on the wards with us. They're in the operation theaters with us, and everyone is so dedicated. And this is what it feels like to be a team.
Yes.
And what's been really gratifying is that over the years, a lot of these Operation Smile student volunteers have gone on to pursue healthcare education,
so nice.
And some of them have started to come back and become,
team members.
Yeah. And it's really beautiful to see that come full circle.
How nice. So how can people be the volunteers? I mean, for the medical side of students, how can they do that?
So we're always looking for volunteers, and there's a website called operationsmile.ae. You can log on. If there's a student who wants to open a club in school, and because this is a UAE registered charity, you can do fundraising. You can submit your CVs. We're always looking for nursing volunteers, medical volunteers. Even if you don't have a medical skill, you can be very helpful in maintaining medical records, patient imaging, dentistry, speech therapy, anything really.
So there's something for everyone.
There's something for everybody, and if not, just do fundraising. And there's always an Amazon wish list for them, so you can if you want to donate during the holy month of Ramadan. That's something that you could do.
So Ramadan coming up, your charities and zakat and sadaqah can go
Absolutely.
there. Excellent. So do the patients, how do the patients get to know about this, or how do patients approach this?
So by word of mouth. A lot of this is word of mouth. I've had I've had a lot of patients coming through because I've taken care of their friends' kids, or they've heard, or they've seen a post, and then when they Google, I suppose, cleft lip, then Operation Smile comes up,
right?
And Morag, who's really the mother of Operation Smile chapter, she takes real personal interest in every single family, and they get called back, and if they're based in Dubai or Sharjah, she'll call me and say, hey, there's this baby who's just born. We need you to see them. And I usually call them in my clinic. I have a phenomenal nurse who's my really close friend, Chikel. She makes sure that these babies are scheduled in when I'm having some downtime at work, and we follow them and just make sure that they're healthy enough to be on the next surgical mission.
Absolutely. It's nice to mention Chikel, because she really is the right-hand person.
Oh, she is.
She drives your show, and I think
she
what would we do
the
with
show.
She is, and she's like recently got her lashes done. So I'm like, you're flattering your eyes. It's like lovely. I think it's just so good to have people who actually are interested and love their job, isn't it?
Yes.
You need to have the right people. You have to have the right tribe.
You do.
What would you do without them?
No, I know.
We value the team so much.
Exactly.
Every person is crucial.
For sure.
As an individual.
And imagine, right, you're spending 8 hours of your day with these people. And a lot of the times, you spend more time with your work family than you do with your personal family.
Absolutely.
So if everyone loves what they're doing and they're great and it's a good chemistry, it makes all the difference.
Absolutely. I think I've been very lucky to have very good team, and I think that makes life so much easier for you, and you can concentrate on what you want to do and deliver, and they kind of like they echo, they resonate with you, and then they move the service forward. It makes so much of a difference.
And then you're the whole team, right? Your patients know who the contact people are.
Absolutely.
My Chikel knows a lot. My kids, a lot of these are patients who are now in their 20s, and they come back and they still want Chikel to do their vaccines, which is really lovely. I love it. Yeah.
Excellent. Good. So a little bit of a, again, kind of personal journey, because we are calling this the real journeys. So From AKU to the US, of course, nothing less than the best being at Duke. And then you came here. So why Dubai?
Why Dubai? Good question. Now you'd say, why not Dubai?
Yeah,
right?
why not Dubai?
Yeah,
Absolutely,
exactly.
yeah.
So in 2008, so as I finished my residency in 2005, so that's when I got married to my amazing, incredible husband, Salman.
Amazing. Lucky guy, I have to say.
No, he's been really, really supportive. He is really my pillar and my rock.
Excellent.
So then between 2005 and 2008, I was doing my fellowship, my master's. We were living in New York. Salman's a finance guy.
Not an
banker.
AKU.
No.
Well done. So I did discuss in the podcast that I did with Mariam, and we were just joking about it that, AKU has this effect that you go as one and you come out as two.
That's true. That's so true.
So I think that's what happened to us, as probably majority maybe. But Salman is not from AKU.
He's not a medic.
Not a medic. Excellent.
Yeah, so that he could take me seriously, right? I mean,
finance and Zainab, that's it.
And so 2008, so we were at the crossroads of, do we put our roots down in the US?
Yeah.
So Salman and I were very desi at heart. And for both of us, being close to family was important. You kind of fast forward 15, 20 years, your parents are getting older. The US is really far away.
Yeah.
So that's when we decided we wanted to move closer to home. There was a finance opportunity that came up. This was a time around when the big crash was happening in Wall Street. Lehman Brothers were going bust. So he got an opportunity in Dubai, and we moved. I didn't have a job. And
Sounds
Dubai
familiar.
was and Dubai was very different. There was no Burj Khalifa. Can you imagine? There was no downtown. It was all a big sand pit, and the Palm was getting built. So we landed up here, so I commuted. I got a locum opportunity at Sheikh Khalifa in Abu Dhabi, and I worked with a phenomenal doctor who's a friend, who's now a very good friend, Dr. Nawal Al-Kabi, who then became the CEO of SKMC. So I did a Peds ID stint there for a few months, but going back and forth to Abu Dhabi every day was really rough.
Tough, yeah.
And that's when around the same time, they were starting up this hospital, which was then called the City Hospital in Dubai Healthcare City, where which was also a sandpit with just one hospital.
Oh, really? Wow.
So I started out there. I had a really close friend, Dr. Alia, who kind of said, hey, why don't you come? Because there were very few US board certified doctors in Dubai at that time. So she was there, and this was a brand new hospital. It was a great opportunity. And I'm really, really grateful to this opportunity, because it provided me the platform to develop and progress into the professional that I am. And after 15 years at Mediclinic, I left about 3 years ago and joined a smaller outpatient clinic.
Right.
Yeah.
Quite a journey, eh?
Quite a journey, but I think that, honestly, like just exactly like we were talking about just before the podcast, you can plan all you want, but things happen, and you may not find the reason for it until much later.
Absolutely.
And being here now, we're coming up to our 18th year in Dubai, and so grateful to this country.
Yeah.
I think there's nowhere else in the world where you can truly have it all.
Yes.
Right? So
Agreed.
I don't think that I would have had the opportunity to be a hands-on mother, to excel in my profession, and be able to do my volunteer work, just because UAE gives you that structure, and you have the safety, your kids are taken care of. There's a lot of emphasis on family, and so I'm really grateful to be here and to evolve, and obviously with the parents getting older, such a short flight away from them as well.
Definitely.
So it all seems to work out sometimes.
Yeah, it all falls into place, isn't it?
Does.
Yeah,
it really, really does. Yeah.
And I think that's something that we did touch upon before as well. But I think it's just when you're starting the journey. I remember when we graduated, the day we got our final prof results, and we had a little party at the back of AKU Gardens, and somebody said that it's not the end. It's actually the beginning. You know, it's the beginning of another journey.
Yes.
We everybody was obviously so elated that
Yeah.
finally MBBS done. We are through with AKU, and we're finally like going to be on a carved specialty that we thought. But it truly is just a journey, and then multiple steps, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's just there was a beginning of another journey.
Yeah.
It wasn't really the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was the beginning of the end. So it was the end of the beginning. So I think it just life carves its ways, and then you fall into the right place where you are. And I couldn't agree more. Being in UAE with the life and the safety of the children, raising the children in the best environment, plus doing what we can do to offer best care that we can.
For sure.
With the right practice. Excellent. Good. So tell me about your hobbies then. I know a few, but I know apart from loving and playing with Daisy, what else is in life? What is exciting in life?
So I love to read. I'm an avid reader.
Yeah.
I have boxes of books. And what else? And I love to bake.
Nice.
And a few years ago, I decided that I need to build muscle. So, I have a personal trainer, Mickey. Shout out to Mickey.
Yeah, there you go, Mickey.
And he helps me, like my minuscule muscles and strength training. So I do that, and that keeps me pretty occupied and happy.
Yeah, and that's what I said. That I think. So inspirational that I have obviously followed your journey, and I'm kind of like saying that okay, I need to build muscle because Zainab is building muscle, so I need to do that. She must because she does everything right, so I should be doing that too.
I'm learning the fashion stuff from you. You see,
again, kind of like the hooks and crooks and the nooks we fill each other. So I think and the other thing, of course, I have to give you the credit that reading I have picked up just because you recommended few books and. Fantastic. I couldn't be happier. I'm just enjoying the recommendations.
Amazing. And you recently met one of the phenomenal authors, right?
Again, thanks to you. I actually picked up that book, What People Will Think, and I read it, and it was a beautiful book. Such a well-written book, and I had the pleasure of meeting Sarah Hamdan. What a beautiful gem of a person she is.
Yeah.
And so calm, and like she was talking about her journey, and I'm like, now that I'm talking to you, what else can I do with you? So she's I will. And then she's very, very nicely accepted it as well. So hopefully we'll have her. It's a lovely, lovely person. And again, that book is, I think, whoever has not read it, please do read it.
Yeah,
it's it's a lovely journey that she's talked about, not just about this girl,
right?
But also the ancestry in Palestine, and how the story evolves.
And it's so timely, right?
It is very timely.
Situation.
It's very timely, and I think that gives you that lighter, easier, more kind of like nicer way to look at life and hope. It was very good, and I think she appeared on Jimmy Fallon's show as well. The book actually got picked up on Jimmy Fallon Book Club, and she was telling me how because she did not know that actually she was being shouted out at. And so then she's like, she just opened the Instagram, which is kind of like our news broadcast these days. So she said she just opened, and then she could see the spine of the book on the desk, and she's like, "Is that my book?"
Wow!
And then he picked it up, and that's how she.
Incredible.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll leave the more sort of juicy stuff with that she's telling us when she comes on the podcast
For sure.
soon.
Can't wait.
But yeah, it was a delight to meet her as well. Great. So tracking back now, something interesting that I did last year, but you did the year before.
Yes.
Afra. So tell us about that. Tell me. I'm so inspired by again Neeti's journey in it.
Yeah. So the powerhouse behind Afra is a very, very dear close friend, Neeti.
Isn't she
Neeti
a gem?
Is just amazing. Yeah. So Neeti and I know each other because her daughter Sanjana and my daughter Mahnur, they were best friends when they first started school. So when they were both 2.5, they started school at Repton.
Wow.
And they were the best of friends. And so that's how I got to know Neeti. And she's had a phenomenal journey. And it's just, I'm so proud of everything that she does. So Neeti is another woman who I really admire because she believes in lifting women, especially women. So she believes in in bringing people together, in giving women creative designers a platform to just be out and get better known in the world.
And that's so rare these days, isn't it?
It's so rare. And when you find that sisterhood, when you have somebody who's looking out for others, and it's a very positive place to be.
Yeah.
And I think that as professional women, we can all do that.
Yes.
And she just does everything bigger and better and at a grander scale. So she had this idea about a fashion confluence, that how about, I don't want this to be just about fashion. It has to mean something.
Yeah.
This is not what I want to teach the young girls, that it's all about superficial fashion.
Yes.
I want people to know that you can be fashionable and you can be a real kick-ass, in your career, in your personal life, and everything. So she handpicked women from different spheres of life to come together, to be glammed up and walk down the catwalk. And I was very grateful and honored to be one of the first when she started Afra.
You were the first ambassadors league, isn't it? So
it was incredible.
Wow.
And she's going to host another Afra Fashion Confluence this year. And
again, yes,
it's going to be bigger and better. And,
she only gets to the next level, I think, with us. The 4-day confluence was kind of like it's on its own type. Was the first time that she did.
First time,
and it hit it off mega success.
Because it's never been done before, right?
Correct,
so when you go to fashion weeks, whether it's Paris or Serbia or wherever, it is the walk, the runway, that's it, and everybody goes their separate ways. But this was the first time that the designers and the models and the creators were sitting together, sharing their personal journeys and lifting each other up.
Absolutely,
right?
and I think
that's what we need in this world. We need to look out for. We're kind of so much in our own shells and our own orbits that we never kind of look outside.
But the idea is very novel, because when she called me and she said somebody had recommended you, I wonder who.
Don't ask.
So then she said no, but then I've obviously looked at your page, but the whole spin of the idea was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And as you said that she put it in the very right way, that it's actually not just about fashion. It's actually about women who actually are successful, have a story, they've made their name just on their own journey by themselves, and this is something that belongs to them.
Yeah.
And that's yours.
Right.
Nobody can take that off you. And that really, and I
resonated.
said, yes, that really resonated. And that's like, you should be more courageous and more kind of like, this is your thing. Nobody can actually take you. So celebrate that. Why not?
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely. Yeah. And it's so much fun. I never thought that I'd be able to walk a runway.
You did a fantastic job.
But I was like, this is exciting. Getting my hair done and putting on fancy clothes, and
you just go, everybody's ready for you, with your clothes, and you have the makeup artist and the hair, somebody.
Without the pressure of being skinny like a model, like a real model.
Yeah. Like any size, no thanks, size 0, but no pressure. But I saw those clips and I'm like, oh my God, look at Zainab, like totally made for it.
Look at you. All your outfits that you eventually end up buying, by the way.
I think I need friends, but do I need friends that, get the money flying off my wallet? I don't know. But I of course love my friends. Okay, great.
And the best thing about this whole Afra experience was and has been is the phenomenal women
that you connect with.
And they're friends, and we laugh together.
Absolutely.
And you cheer each other on, and you're there, and I think that's been beautiful. And it's exactly what Neeti had envisioned, I think.
And I think I see her being genuinely happy.
She is.
Whenever we've met as those Afra women, the ambassadors, and how well we connect, doesn't matter, because we're not from the same nationalities. Come from every different country, and
different careers,
and different ages, and we all sit and have a really good, meaningful conversations and really good time.
Absolutely,
absolutely cherishable, completely. Good. So let's do some fun thing now.
Okay. This was fun.
This was fun. Okay. All right. Good. So I'm not doing too bad then.
Come on, you're a pro. You're born for this.
I don't know what else. What else? I think I'm still trying to carve out my way. Could I be doing something else? So now, okay, let's do this. No need to look at it. So I got asked this, and I was like, that was a nice one to say. So we do this rapid fire.
Oh.
Okay. So let's see.
Scandalous stuff.
I know, right? Like now's the time to catch you. So let's see. Okay. So mountains or beaches?
Well, it depends on how
Well, it's a
much
rapid
you have
fire.
to...
You can't mumble
sorry,
around.
I can't
right?
Okay, beaches.
Okay.
Less work.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Tea or coffee?
Tea. Always tea.
Any particular tea?
Good old
Karak
chai.
cha.
Yeah, without the sugar bit.
Without sugar bit. Okay.
With the cardamom. Love
Oh, there you go. Of course. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like Earl Grey with the top of lemon in it.
Yeah, you might be the Earl Grey type. I'm like very desi. Good old chai with
Okay,
cardamom.
great. So desi fusion fashion or Western?
Oh my God, rapid fire. I have no idea, man. I mean, I'm a medic. I don't know fashion. I just...
But that's the
Okay,
thing. Okay.
fine.
So desi or say Western?
Western.
Western. Okay, good. Restaurants wise, again, desi cuisine or anything different to try on?
Different, as long as it's not insects or something.
Yeah,
like that.
What's your best cuisine? What do you like, the favorite cuisine?
I am a very desi person, so dal and kebabs and stuff. Those are my favorite. But I'm happy to try new things. Yeah.
Okay.
And more protein these days,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
For
isn't
those,
it? Yeah. Like
muscles.
just circulate around. What is the protein there? Okay, fine.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, good. So travel wise, I mean, are you like more of a city vibe or kind of like chill, go to like do nothing kind of a sit at the beach?
So no, I am a city, but a chill city. We don't, luckily Salman's the same way. We don't have itineraries. We just get up, enjoy our breakfast, and then plan the day. We're not like that. We need to check everything off.
Yeah, it's not the checkbook and
not
like,
the
tick
check,
boxes of the
it's
bucket
just-
list.
Yeah,
and,
because just life is so hectic, right?
Yeah.
That, you want to go to a holiday and enjoy yourself.
Nice, good.
Yeah.
So a movie or a book?
Book, always.
Yeah.
And if there's a book where there's a movie made on it, I never watch the movie. Because I just feel like the movies never do justice to it. They kind of...
That's right. Yeah, I think that's true. But movies, I mean, kabhi kabar, what they end up doing is, they kind of like twist the story as well.
Yes,
So the book is
exactly.
better to read, and you kind of like come to the nicer conclusion, and I mean, especially I can say this with this recent book that I read with what people think. I actually could visualize it.
Yes, isn't it?
I mean, isn't that amazing? That you
That's
can
the
actually,
beauty of a good author,
a
right?
good book and a good
Yeah.
author, and you could just read it, and I could just see the grandfather pacing up and down, in the living room, and then the
Right,
grandmother standing by the sink,
Exactly.
and I was like, wow, and so amazing, good. Okay, so in terms of your cooking skills, what is your best dish that you've ever made?
Oh my God. So, so growing up in Pakistan, and my father really believed that no matter how accomplished you are, you actually should know how to cook. So I was cooking and I was making rotis and parathas from the age of 10. Yeah, so I could, and that's why people were friends with me when I was living in America, because I could cook.
Nice.
So that was a skill that came in really handy.
Yeah, good.
Have I cooked in the last several years? No.
Well
I mean, but I cook or I bake or I try new recipes and stuff. But I'm not a cooker as as my Chilean friend used to say.
Yeah, cooker. Yeah, and I think again, you kind of like understand what you do the best, isn't it? So invest the energy into that rather than actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So my mom is a phenomenal. She cooks everything beautifully. So I've given her a task. I've said, you have to measure how much of stuff you put in anything and make a recipe book that I can follow.
I think that's
so my
a good
poor
one.
mom's
Yes,
in trouble.
Yeah, so she's creating a recipe book for you.
So she said, initially I used to
Why
just
not?
put everything,
Andaze se.
and now I have to actually measure 1/4 teaspoon of this.
No, I think that's so both me and my mom and even my sister, I think we're kind of like very like, oh, ye bhi dal do, ye bhi dal do. There's no andaza kind of in that. And my mom again was a very phenomenal cook. I mean, kind of recipes and I think the legacy back in the day, and she did everything. She was a working woman and did everything.
Right.
And now I'm kind of like, okay, I will cook when I think I can. But
right.
But I know of like my mother-in-law. She has been very regimental about like this much to put and this much.
Right.
Itni der isko ubalo and this to cook for this much long time. But yeah, I think it just goes on.
If it works, it works.
It works, right? I mean, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
you know, my husband's alive, and you know, and I've kept my kids alive, so that's okay. Excellent. Okay, so coming back to kind of like, you know, a bit more, not serious, but let's see, if you were to do something else in life, what would you think you would do? You said you were 3 and you knew you wanted to be a lady doctor.
Lady doctor.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
So was there anything
How
else?
nerdy can one get?
Yeah.
No, but you know, when I was, it's really funny. And when I tell my kids that, they think I'm really strange. You know, when I was 10, I wanted to be a Formula One driver.
Yeah.
But now somebody wants to drive fast, and I'm like, dude, no.
Yeah.
So no, and then along the way I said, oh, it'd be nice to have a coffee shop, you know, where you can bake and you can read and do stuff. But again, too much work.
Yeah.
But my goal for this year is to learn how to play golf, so that I have something to do when I retire. Yeah.
That's a very good
Let's see
idea.
how that goes. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I can never put myself to play golf. I don't know. Is it even a game?
I mean, ask
I'm
like
sorry.
the population. You might have some very angry viewers.
Yeah, no, I think I'm deleting by a bit. I think it's. I mean, we live on a golf course, so I mean, so it's clearly something. But I think game for me is always kind of like, you know, is it adrenaline rush? You know.
True.
But yeah.
Maybe drive that golf buggy really fast.
Yeah. I could do that. Yeah. Take you to the golf course. That's my adrenaline done. Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent. Good. So any words of advice for the younger doctors, pediatricians, aspiring pediatricians, anything that you want to tell them?
You know, I think that you should just do what you truly love. And it's not a cliche, it's really true. I love going to work. I love seeing those families, those kids, and those blowing kisses and cuddles and stickers. It's challenging because they can't tell you what's wrong with them. It's not like they come and tell you my tummy hurts or my ear. They're just fussy, and you've got to try and figure it out. So, and working with those families is really rewarding. So it's a beautiful field.
Like I've seen those cute cards that they bring you, and you know,
amazing.
It's fantastic. You know, with those little teddy bears and the writing. It doesn't matter if it's upside down or like the wrong way around. But
Absolutely.
it's so cute,
I get
isn't
so
it?
many love letters in the office. So it's great. And the families are amazing. And you know, when you're looking after them from their cradle to when they're going off to college, it's a very special bond, and the trust that they have. So very grateful to be doing what I do and to have the trust that I do. And I think for pediatricians, just follow your heart and do what you're good at and whatever you want to. And that's the only time that you're going to be successful in any career.
Yeah. Isn't that right? I mean, that's absolutely, I think you've nailed it very well, because I think just do what you love.
Right.
Otherwise, and I think it's getting quite difficult. I don't know with this AI thing, what do you think, where's the world heading? I mean, do you see challenges in peds? Where is it falling into?
So I think AI can be phenomenal. And I think that they're really positive things. Imagine that you have somebody in a really rural setting, in a poor fishing village in Pakistan, for example, who has no access to healthcare, and then there is a facility that allows remote, consultations, and now you can actually do remote physical exams and listen to their hearts or listen to their lungs and maybe diagnose pneumonias or other things, and at least figure out which ones of these kids should be seen in a larger facility. So I think that AI can have a huge impact in underserved populations. Obviously there's always that risk of AI hallucinations, how much of what AI is doing is ethical and okay. But I think that AI can make things much better. So, in certain subspecialties, let's say radiology or histopathology and stuff, maybe it can really augment, improve what we're doing. I think that in medicine generally, you're always going to need to have that human touch.
Absolutely.
Because yes, patients can go into a pod and get diagnosed, but you need somebody to be compassionate and lay that healing
empathy
and empathy. And I think pediatrics there was a study a while ago that showed that AI is only 11% correct in pediatric diagnostics,
Right,
just because
okay.
it's challenging.
Yeah,
You know, there are no specific patterns. Somebody with a urinary UTI or urinary tract infection can present with either fever or vomiting and diarrhea, and no urinary symptoms, right? So, they can end up with a UTI. So AI has a hard time pegging that down. So in that way, there's probably job security in pediatrics. So for the budding pediatricians, this is a good field to be in.
Excellent.
But no, I think AI is phenomenal, but in the right hands. And I think there is going to be that question of health equity when it comes to AI, right? So if you're a country that has the resources and you have the access to AI, your population is going to be better served. But then developing countries might suffer because they don't have that level of access to AI to improve healthcare. So that I think that's going to be another evolving, ethical question that's going to happen down the road.
I think who knows what future brings, isn't it? I mean, we do what we do best at the given time and moment.
Absolutely.
And see what gets unraveled over time.
Yes. So, like, for example, nowadays you're seeing how devices are being, there's a backtracking of devices in school settings because studies have shown that ever since devices became very widespread in classrooms, the learning actually declined. So a lot of countries are now taking that back. So I think there will have to be a sweet spot where too much AI is not great, but too little. And I think as a human civilization, we have to figure out where that sweet spot lies.
So the medium ground is always good, isn't it? Anything in excess is not good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether it be AI, sweet sugar, too much protein. I don't know what's too much protein, but
Gosh, can you even? I can never meet my protein goals.
I
for the day.
can't.
You're just eating all the time.
Yeah, like this much you have to eat, and I'm like, There's only so many hours in the day.
That's true.
How many hours are you going to think about food?
Exactly.
And actually eat it?
Yeah.
Along with other things that you have to do.
Absolutely. Yes.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Zainab. It's been an absolute pleasure.
This is amazing. It was so much fun.
And I'm glad you liked it. And then thank you so much again for coming.
Thank you.
And wishing you all the best with everything.
Likewise.
With life in general.
Thank
career,
you. And you
family.
too.
Thank you so much.